There's lots of, I think, great lessons to be learned from an organization doing this pivot. I think at the beginning when I started my research until you sort of weighed in with some of yours, I was like, this is a great case study for MBA, but I think it's still a live case study.
Hey, Steve, how you doing? Welcome back.
Ian, I got to ask you, what in the world are you sick? You got a cold? You're not feeling well? What's going on, buddy?
We're switching it around this week. You're doing the background on the company, and I get to do the hint. And I was so excited about it that I've prepared an entire skit. So I don't want to tell you what this is yet, but just know it helps define who this company is that we're going to be addressing today.
I think I might know where you're going with this, but I'm super keen to hear about. Hey, first off, how are you doing? What's up? I know we're in early January. In fact, just a little FYI, Ian, it is my 55th birthday today. So
wow,
getting up there, my friend, getting up there. But how are you and how was the holidays?
I'm doing really well. I'm leaving very soon. I leave for South Beach next Friday. I'm in South Beach for a while, so I'm very excited about that. And last night I went to the Raptors game and they won, so that was fantastic.
They did.
Yeah,
they did. And the Canadian junior team, hockey team, won as well. Well, they won a bronze, but they won, which was nice to see as well. Yeah, we're off to Tulum with some friends later this week. Yeah, so we're super excited about that as well. So, yeah. Anyway, back to your outfit.
All right. So my hint for this week is the company that we're going to be addressing this week. I've actually written a pitch for a movie for them. Ready?
Wow. Okay.
Yes. It's called You Maple Me Crazy. A high-powered executive on the fast track to career success at her NYC-based maple syrup conglomerate must return to Maple Creek, Vermont, her charming small town home, to acquire a fast-growing artisanal company that threatens her corporate empire. When she crosses paths with her childhood rival, the ruggedly handsome owner of the organic maple farm she's been sent to buy, he challenges her slick city ways and reminds her of the simple sweetness of tradition. As they are forced to work together to prepare for the annual Maple Creek Autumn Festival, she rediscovers her passion for the authentic craft and finds herself questioning her life, her values, and her opinion of what a perfect blend truly is. As the festival approaches, she must decide if she will choose the soulless corporate buyout her fiancé has arranged, or if she will risk it all for her family's legacy and a love that's as real and sweet as pure maple syrup. So, Steve,
that was one of the best pitch scripts I've ever heard.
Thank you.
You know what? I think the only place that belongs is on the Hallmark channel.
Bingo, you got it, Steve. So today
we are in fact talking about Hallmark. I love it. Well done. I love the pitch. That was great. Very, very funny, my friend. So yeah, we are actually talking about Hallmark. And actually, just before we get into it, it's kind of like Hallmark. I was thinking about this the other day when we were talking about we were lining up the next few podcasts we're doing. And I know our listeners are going to ask themselves, like, why are we doing Hallmark? We've done like Jaguar and Las Vegas and, running athletics. And, we've got some other really interesting companies too. Like, why Hallmark? We are coming off the holiday season. But more importantly, this was my idea, so I'm the guilty one in this. So maybe I've got the Hallmark moment built into me or something. But it is a really fascinating story. So I actually saw a brief episode on CBC News about them, and particularly the fact that just a little FYI, did you know, their major production studio for the Hallmark channel is actually all over Canada, but mainly in BC. So they were talking about how much they do shoot up here. And they use Ontario and Quebec and some other places as well. So your maple syrup or your maple, whatever it was, it fits right into it.
Maple syrup
Absolutely. So,
conglomerate, Steve.
but I just think it's an absolutely fascinating story. And it's really a story of, honestly, like transformation. I think is probably the best way. And quite honestly, when we get into some of the facts and figures around it, and it's not surprising when you think about it, they're known as the greeting card company and have a pretty large retailer network as well, uh, all in decline. They really did need to transform the organization, but the speed in which they've done this, and it literally has become almost a holiday tradition, both young and old. Like they've crossed segments in a way that I've never seen an organization be able to do that. So again, still early days with it, but I think it's a fascinating company. So why don't we talk a little bit about kind of some of the numbers and get into some of it, and love to hear some of your color commentary along the way since we're switching roles. By the way, I love the mustache. I'm assuming that was your channeling your inner me. Was that what you were doing?
Yeah, well, yeah, the rugged, handsome artisanal syrup maker was named Steve.
Well, I've never been called rugged, so nor handsome actually. But very good. I love it. I love it. And I'm still trying to get used to the plaid shirt you're wearing. So for any listeners that are not watching this on YouTube, you got to tune into Ian's outfit today. It's fantastic. So let's get into it. Yeah, Hallmark really has been on this transformational journey really quickly. Started about 2001, really from traditionally, they really are known as a greeting card company. In fact, actually, I was visiting my parents this weekend and my mom gave me a card, and which that's what they normally do. But this time she said it's a special card. It's a Hallmark card. My parents they're like dollar store people. Like they would never go and buy, but it was a birthday. So they went and bought a Hallmark card and made it a Hallmark moment. But really moved from becoming Hallmark really is transformed from really being a greeting card company to really this holiday media empire. So like in 2024, Hallmark Channel was the most watched entertainment cable network across North America. They developed and produced 30 original holiday, particularly around the Christmas season for 2025. And those of you that like, you just can't get away from it. Like they've done deals with Netflix. They have their own holiday channel. We're going to get into a little bit around Hallmark Plus, which they develop as well, which is their subscription service. They are everywhere. And they've just created an amazing framework around this, which we're getting into a little bit later on as well. The interesting thing is like their card business is still their core business. Again, we should mention as well, Hallmark is a private company. So getting some of the information data around the organization, a little bit's inferred from like Forbes and other places that we could extract some of the data from. But best we can tell, they're about a $5 billion company. $3.5 billion is the card company specifically. And then we'll get into a little bit more about where the other revenue is coming from as well. But there's really, two behemoths in the US. It's really, and they are, the big one, obviously in terms of the industry. Like the whole category, I think is $7 billion, if I've got that right. And obviously themselves and American Greetings are the two dominant players. They actually own about 80% of the market. So there's a lot of cottage industry and small players all over the place as well. $5 billion is nothing to sneeze at necessarily. But the thing is, though, and we're going to show a chart, and the charts really describe this really interesting pivot moment. And it's not surprising. I mean, back in 2000, really, it coincides directly with the birth of the internet and really the web as we know it today. The U.S. Postal Service just went on a steady decline. So at their height, it was like about 100 billion, a little over 100 billion mail, and that included parcels and cards and mail in general. That was at their peak in 2000, and that was an immediate pivot point, and it just declined from there. In about the latest data is, I think, 2000 and I'm going to say 20. There were just a little over 50 billion. So over a short period of time, 20 years essentially declined, 50% in terms of what they'd mailed. Immediately Harlequin as well. The other chart that we're showing saw an immediate decline. Obviously, they don't just sell or just distribute their greeting cards through the mail. It's obviously people go and buy them at stores and give them by hand and things, but they immediately saw a decline. And then interesting enough, in about 2000 and looks like about 2006, they started to see a bit of an uptake, which we're going to get into a little bit, which is really this media group. So it's not surprising that they needed to pivot the organization quickly. And really, this is a story, and I think you coined this really well. It's really a tale of two companies. It is the traditional company, which is Hallmark Cards, which is the parent company, which is over 100 years old now, by the way.
Yeah,
They've been around a long time.
Yeah.
Sorry?
They've been a family-owned company for over a century. I mean, that's pretty impressive that they've been able to make
It's
this type
actually
of pivot.
the actual latest CEO is the first non-family member, and he actually was one of the ones that started this pivot of the organization. But Hallmark Cards is the $3.5 billion part of the organization of the 5 billion. Interesting enough, I found this really interesting. I was doing some research around it. I don't know if you knew this, but they own Crayola crayons. Crayola. I don't know why I'm having a hard time saying that, but they bought them back in 1984. And they're almost $1 billion on their own of top line revenue but that all fits under the Harlequin Cards part of it. And then they started to pivot the organization in about 2001 and launched something they called Hallmark Channel, or really relaunched it, because it was really made up of this group of company called Odyssey. There was Crown Media Family Networks. There was a bunch of these different groups that they kind of brought together. They bought a company called RH, which was a bunch of media and entertainment assets as well. But really in 2001, they brought it all together and formed this thing called Hallmark Channel. And by the way, and I know we're going to get into this a little bit later as well, but it's still only driving, I think, about 600 million in revenue. I don't know if you found anything else in your research as well, but that's what I found in terms of what the numbers were. But it still is in sort of a positive incline, if you will, in terms of where the numbers are going. But they are all in on this strategy of moving to this media empire. 2004, they launched a movie channel specifically. That's the one that I think most people probably recognized. They also did a huge partnership with Netflix as well in 2024. So it's pretty recent, but they launched the Hallmark Plus, which is like a membership subscription platform as well. So, which is kind of combining the cards and as you kind of put it, the trinkets, all the little sort of retail pieces with actually the media empire. So they're trying to cross over these things, watch a movie, feel good, go buy something for somebody. So they're trying to kind of bring these things together, but they are absolutely all into it. But it really is a tale of two companies. The one is really, arguably in structural decline as an organization. And something I thought was really fascinating. In fact, I think you dug this up, which the retail side of the business, franchise, number of the businesses filed for Chapter 11. And again, maybe you have a little more information on this, but 39 stores. I'm not sure all of them filed for bankruptcy, but I believe many of them did. UK revenue was down 53% as well. Like their growth is just stagnant across the entire cards group. So they really needed to change the business. And again, the media business, which is mainly ad revenue, is that 600 million that I mentioned as well. They got 880 million total viewers. And then they've got about 28% of the market share, specifically around holiday ad revenue. So not bad numbers on the media side of things as well, but definitely the retail business or the card business is struggling for sure.
Yeah, it was called Banners Hallmark. and a major franchisee with 39 stores failed for Chapter 11, citing cash flow issues and seasonal strain. This is a direct signal of the failing retail model. And they've definitely obviously pivoted towards their online Hallmark.com, and we're going to talk about this in a minute. Is it just traditional retailers? Is that shift away? I mean, obviously a lot of these locations would have been in malls, and we know that malls have been failing in the US.
Yeah.
I would argue it's probably also related to assortment, but it would definitely be like a canary in the coal mine saying that that side of their business is not as strong as their burgeoning growth engine, which is the media business.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Again, the media industry too. I was surprised too. Like the numbers are still relatively speaking small when you talk about sort of media industry and ad space, but it is growing for sure. I think the one thing that really got me excited when I was digging into the research, particularly around, again, we're going to focus a lot, I think, more on the media side of things. We're going to touch on the cards when we get into some of the ideas of things they can start to do to really help the organization continue sort of this sort of transformation of this pivot. But the one thing I really found, they decided that they were going to own a category. And this category is comfort entertainment. Now, I've never heard anybody ever talk about comfort entertainment. And by the way, with that plaid shirt you're wearing today, you look about as comfortable as possible. So you should put the scarf back on. It was a good
Well, yeah,
touch.
I think it's like, you know what? That totally makes sense to me. It's like chicken soup for the soul
Yeah.
in a movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it never gets too
And the
steamy. It never gets too, doesn't really cross lines. Everyone looks like perfectly healthy and perfect teeth. And yeah,
Yeah, like the formula that they create, we're going to talk a little bit more about the formula too, but it is the most cookie cutter formula you can imagine. And yet you hear people, and again, what is really fascinating about it, I'll hear my mom talking about Hallmark shows that she's watched, and I'll hear my daughter, who is 20, talk about Hallmark shows that she's watched. So it just crosses demographics like nothings. But they continue to sort of expand this network, if you will. So they've got the Hallmark channel, but they also have like a mystery channel as well.
yeah,
They have a Lifetime. As I mentioned, they've partnered with Netflix. So there's a lot of the shows on Netflix as well. And then they're really trying to consolidate everything into this Hallmark Plus. That's kind of the real sort of strategy they're trying to do. But this owner of this category around comfort entertainment, I think is pretty neat. And then the other thing is the idea of they've really taken a page out of Amazon around creating essentially a flywheel or taking a flywheel model. They've done it a little differently, but where they've said, you know what, we have this century-old brand. Again, Hallmark moment is something, you'd almost sort of put that up there with Kleenex, if you will. If you think of like premium gift cards, you'll think of Hallmark. So, everything about it is the brand is strong, right? The brand is absolutely strong. So they've taken this unbelievable, powerful brand asset and then created this category of comfort entertainment. And then they've created, they call it a product system, which is really the media piece, which they've taken this real formulaic, idea around here's how a holiday story should be told. It's going to make you feel good. You're going to have like your favorite cup of cocoa or hot chocolate or whatever. Either going to watch it with friends or family. It is absolutely something that's going to make you smile and feel good. Created an efficient production model around it. And then the other part of it is they have done is, and I didn't actually know this, but throughout the actual movies, the amount of product placement they do, Hallmark, obviously, through their retail stores, and I know we talked about that a little bit, but even through Hallmark Plus and some of their other categories, they do offer many of these. Inside of the actual movies, there's a ton of product placement throughout as well. So they are really trying to create this engine where they've got the merch and the retail and tie-ins all brought together as well.
I mean, in a
And the
way, they've
idea
kind
of
of taken. I'd say, in a way, they kind of took the playbook from Disney, right? Like, yeah,
that's a great
the
example.
current playbook, right? Like now they're creating these
Yep.
emotional assets, these movies, and then leveraging that through the retail. I don't know if they've like really fully done it as well as Disney has as of yet. Like, people pay, you'll pay $100 for complete, never mind. I'm not going to say that. You pay $100 for something that doesn't seem necessarily of the highest quality at a Disney store
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah,
branded with a Disney character, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
which makes their margins incredible, and why they're so highly profitable is because they have that flywheel. And I would say Hallmark is now beginning to sort of do the same thing. Very clever.
Yeah. Well, they talk about this product system that they've built. They talk about it around they take this brand equity, if you will, plus this repeatable story model that they've created. And again, we should point out as well that like the holiday, it's really around Christmas time. I mean, they are dabbling in some other things as well. Like to your point, they could extend this to Halloween if they wanted to. Halloween's become a huge, almost a holiday unto itself. So they could extend this to other, seasons, if you will, or holiday seasons as well. But it really is this brand equity plus these repeatable stories. They talk about they've captured these seasonal habits that people have. We have one in our family where we always try to get together as a family and we watch Polar Express. We're all falling asleep about halfway through because we've watched it like, every year since the kids were probably, 3 or 4, right? So, but it's that seasonal habit that you have that you do as a family of friends, so on and so forth. But they've converted all that into this reoccurring revenue model, mainly from the ad network. But I get where they're going with Harlequin Plus. But I love this product system that they've built. So
Now, did you find anything, Steve, on how much they're spending to produce these movies? I only found one source. It was Forbes Business
I didn't,
Insider. The estimate they had was about $2 million per movie that they were spending in Christmas, which
which when you
seems
think about it is probably
very
pretty
efficient.
low in
Yeah.
considering production. But it's actually one of the things that I think they could really even create more efficiency around. I think we'll talk about it later on around some of the uses of content creation using AI.
Yeah.
And sort of removing some of those maybe costs that are associated with it as well. So, but anyway, that's kind of the background of the organization. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or you want to just sort of jump into some of the questions. I think what really sort of starts to come to mind is there's lots of, I think, great lessons to be learned from an organization doing this pivot. I think at the beginning when I started my research until you sort of weighed in with some of yours, I was like, this is a great case study for MBA, but I think it's still a live case study. Like, I don't think it's, fully baked yet, if you will. I think there's still a lot of work to be done. So I think there's some great lessons to be learned. Actually, interesting enough, I would argue that the pivot, even though I talked about it starting in 2001, I would argue that pivot actually was happening long before this. Like they've been involved in call it the TV media space for a long time. Back in 1954, they came up with the Hallmark Hall of Fame, I believe it's called. And it's actually one of the longest running sort of traditional shows, if you will, that apparently still runs on cable televisions. But you want to get into some of the questions because I think what's interesting is, again, we could
Do you
talk about
mind,
some of the
Steve,
lessons
before
learned.
we do, I just want to mention one more thing that I think is relevant, which is their competitive set. So not the competitive set on the media side, because I think that's different, but the competitive set on the card side, I would argue is more like Moonpig, Paperless Post, even Canva. And that's where, they're still doing traditional cards and they're competing with these companies now like Moonpig, which I'll share the screenshot of in the YouTube video, have gone deep integration on AI. And so they're doing like deep integration AI, completely personalized. And Hallmark has publicly said that they've decided not to use AI in the same way, that they want to like defend this moat of human authenticity, and that people feel that AI is inauthentic. And so it's still human beings who are writing the copy, and they're not doing this sort of uh, this AI. They're using AI more in the background, things like predicting what kind of gifts you would buy for certain types of people, but they're
Yeah.
not using it for creating content yet. And strategically, you could argue that's a good strategy, or so not a good strategy, but that's publicly been what they say their strategy is right now. And I think that's interesting.
One of my real ideas that I think I should lean into is the human element of it. It really is this. They are capturing something. It's these moments in time, back to the Hallmark moment. They've captured that in such a way that I think many brands would be envious of. So, and I think there's something real human about that in a world where we are living and increasing with digital AI, social, becoming very unauthentic, right? So I think there's something which is really interesting because again, if you watch their shows, that the formulaic around it, like you can almost nail every time. Oh no, they've fallen in love. Oh, they've fallen out of love. Oh, they're falling back in love. Like it's just the same thing over and over again. But you feel like there's some honesty to that, which is it is kind of like how life works, right? So, but I wanted to ask you because I think these are some of the sort of the kind of questions I think come out of this as well as one of the areas around is this idea around an identity crisis. So you've got this tale of two companies, the century old, let's call it greeting card company that is diverse, bought other companies like Crayola. There we go. I got it that time. They bought Crayola, they've bought some other companies along the way, but really that's what they're known for is this greeting card. But then they're now really pivoting and hard pivoting into this media empire. So like, do they have an identity crisis or can they live together, these two pieces?
I mean, I think they can live together, to your point, using that flywheel approach. They can reinforce it, but there's definitely a challenge because it takes a lot more than just saying, okay, this is a startup portion of the company, and they can't treat them separately. To really get the benefits, they need to synergize the two. There's a word for you. They need to really combine those two elements into one offer. And I think they're trying to do that, and they've done it to a certain degree, to your point, like they're doing a good job with things like product placements. But I don't think they haven't really learned, and I think they're trying, which is again, by the way, you always choose the hard companies. I always choose the easy companies. This is the bias. I choose Jaguar. Everyone's on. I choose Las Vegas. Everyone's online saying Jaguar. What do they do? You choose On Running, which is killing it, and you choose Hallmark, which has done one of the most successful pivots. So you make me work way too hard. But anyways, I digress. Think what's really
I call it,
interesting.
I make it interesting, Ian. I just
That's
make it
true. No,
interesting.
it's true. No, it's good. We have to, if we're not working, then why are people watching us, right? But I think they haven't. It's very interesting because they're dealing with two digital evolutions or almost revolutions that they're dealing with at the same time. So on the gift side or the card side, let's call it the card side, they're competing with these startups like Moonpig, Paperless Post, even Canva, who have much deeper AI integrations in them. And on the media side, we know traditional media is really struggling right now. And they've done a good job partnering with things like Netflix. But there's this new thing coming right now, which is AI, which is this whole other wave of innovation that they have to deal with. So talk about they're doing a great job, but they're surfing this incredibly difficult wave right now of two huge revolutions where they're competing. And I think they need to be really careful because one misstep, and I would argue, I'm going to be completely contrarian here. They've come out, they've said that they're doing this preservationist innovation. They don't want to, they don't want to, lose their identity to AI. And they think that the human touch is really important. I disagree. And this is why I disagree. I find that there's almost nothing as impersonal as a greeting card written by somebody I don't know who doesn't know the person that I'm giving the card to, writing some saccharine message about a generalized individual. Like, Mom, you've always been there for me. Really? Like, how does Hallmark know? And so
Yeah.
I think I think they're missing the boat there. I think personalization, even if it's driven by AI, is much more touching than a human message written for a mass general population. That's my completely contrarian view.
Yeah. So I agree and disagree, which is I can do it all in the same things. Uh, uh, I mean, when you think about it, you get a card from somebody, a birthday card or whatever. you kind of skim through whatever the cover is, and you open it up, and hopefully a gift card or something falls out of it. But you really read directly the whatever message was written by hand,
Yes.
by the person. So I agree with there's a personal touch that someone actually puts in there, and that's what you're really looking for, is their, particularly their handwritten note. I will disagree because, like, obviously, as you know, I am a huge believer and advocate for where AI is going and the potential of what it can do. But I also, on the flip side, do like a stand where it's like we are going to try to be more human. And I think there's something about that. I hear what you're saying about the personalized message. That's where I'm agreeing with. There could be a way that they could leverage AI without losing the human touch. I think that's what the balance they're trying to sort of find there. I want to actually just one last thing on the identity crisis, and then I want to actually move on to one more thing, and then we can kind of get into some of our thoughts and ideas. But the identity crisis, I actually don't think they have identity crisis. I think they're getting too caught up in thinking they have identity crisis. Their identity, their brand is Hallmark. You mentioned a great example of a brand that has multiple brands, but you always come back to that main brand, Disney. Disney has bought many different brands, brought them together, but it's always around that Disney brand. I think they've got to stop this worrying about it's two companies. That's the operating side of things. Nobody in the consumer world or customer world cares about your different operating model. Nobody cares. It's the one of the things that drives me nuts about companies all the years that I've helped organizations is they get caught up in, oh, we're going to call this and this, and everybody's going to know it. No, a company just knows you as Hallmark or,
And by
whatever it might be.
by the way, Steve, somebody viewing at home will say to themselves, "You're talking about Disney. Disney Plus isn't doing well. They totally flubbed streaming." Actually, just a side note, quick side quest here. Disney streaming will be profitable in 2026 after early losses with Disney Plus and Hulu, now generating over 1.3 billion in operating income annually through bundling, cost controls, and subscriber growth to 132 million subscribers. Uh, I should double check those numbers. But anyways, regardless, Disney is actually, I don't think that Disney Plus is the loss leader that it has been. And people talked about it for years as being this loss leader. But it seems as though Disney streaming has achieved profitability in 2025 from a $4 billion loss 3 years prior. So, yes, it had big losses, but it's actually turned it around. So I wouldn't, you can't denigrate the strategy by saying it didn't work for Disney, because it did end up working for Disney. So just
Yeah. I,
to
I think I think this streaming, I mean, we could do a whole podcast on just streaming. Many people out there have done that as well. It does actually, I think this is where it goes into kind of my next kind of areas. And the one that sort of dovetails maybe into some of our ideas is they really are moving to a platform play, which you and I have built digital platforms. We've obviously been in that space and market doing that. And it's interesting, like their platform play is this combination of, on one part, it is a streaming platform where you can consume all of the Hallmark content, all your holiday content. You can binge away at it for, I think it's like $7.99 a month or
yeah,
something, or
that's why I have
79, 80
$7.99 a
bucks
month,
a year or something.
$80 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I think where they're kind of they're sort of, it feels weak is the tie-in with the merch and other pieces of it. And to your point about maybe some of the personalization aspects of, they could really do more. Like if I'm going to pay that, I'm going to pay it for a Hallmark streaming service. I don't think so. Right. So this is again where I think a lot of people, again, I'm not going to get into the Disney Plus things. I agree. I think it's probably doing better than I think most people think, but it feels like it doesn't tie in with other things. Its job is to deliver content. That's its job. Its job is not to deliver e-commerce, whereas Hallmark Plus is trying to be maybe too much. So I guess the question back to you is, and I mean, I think you talked about it earlier, but you talked about like the occasional operating system.
Well, you sent me a fantastic press release talking about how they were working on their OS system. I'm going to share their site on the screen for a second here. And for those who are just listening along, we'll do our best to describe what it is that we're looking at. But we're looking at the Hallmark.com. I'm in the gifts section right now. They've got it split out by different things. They've got Valentine's Day cards, ornaments, home gifts. Obviously, how Valentine's Day would swap out depending on what the next major occasion is. And you can do all of this. You can become a member of Hallmark.com, and Hallmark.com will track your major occasions. It will send you reminders. You can do a sign and send, so you don't actually have to like physically get the card. You can do a virtual signature, and they'll send it directly from them. And you can bundle it with a gift. So they are in some ways doing the occasion OS, which is very clever. And I've got the screen up right now, and let's look at Valentine's Day together, Steve. If I click on Valentine's Day, I think they've definitely hit their niche, and I think a couple things related to that niche. Like we sort of touched on it. We talked about the chicken soup for the soul. I think it's more than chicken soup for the soul. They're definitely wholesome. They're like the Chick-fil-A of media companies. Like they're keeping it wholesome, and they're keeping it at a reasonable price point. And but if I look at the gifts, this is, it's definitely a portion of the market, and it may actually be a relatively large portion of the market. Not actually sure, probably is. But I'm not going to send, I might send this mug here, the T-Rex love you this much funny mug. I might send that to my mom. Well, no, I wouldn't even send it to my mom. I might send it to my aunt. You know what I mean? Like, to me, this is stuff I would send to my aunt.
Hey, listen, Ian, I wouldn't be offended if I got that for my birthday.
Damn it, spoiler alert, Steve. I didn't want you to figure it out. But the Willow Tree Angel of Friendship Animal Lover figurine for $40, this is not hitting this is not fulfilling my requirements. Do you know what I mean?
There's a lot of people who live in North America and the UK, so I would argue we may not be the demographic, but I like what you're saying in terms of, you're right. Like the tie-in may not be totally there.
I'm just saying it's not broad enough. I'm not saying this. I think the strategy is right. I think part of the execution is right. I think I want to outsource. I don't want to worry. I don't want to worry that I've forgotten somebody's birthday or, a Christmas gift. Every year my wife and I will be, okay, we have a Christmas gift for this person, this person, this person.
Yeah.
I don't want to forget anybody, and I don't want to have to stress about it. Totally in for the OS. Where they lose me is the assortment. And so I'm not alone. I might not be the largest portion of the population, but I probably represent a relatively profitable part of the population. If I go here, I'm going to click here on anniversary. Now, Steve, I don't know. I know you're a very romantic man. Would you send any of these gifts to your wife for your anniversary?
No. Yeah. No.
Right?
Maybe the Mickey Mouse, maybe the Mickey and Minnie Mouse thing. There we go.
Mickey and Precious Moments, Disney Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse holding hands figurine. I mean, even if it's just an addition to, right? Even if I go out and I buy the really nice gift for my wife, but I don't want to I don't want to worry about, you always want to give it a little bit more than just one thing, just in case. You're just covering your ass, right? Why not do things? Why not partner? Why not partner with something like Harry and David? Why give me that option to send a gift basket and put the Hallmark card in the gift basket. Let me do it through Hallmark, who's going to remind me to send the gift basket and keep track of what I've sent, my aunt or whomever in the past. But give me that higher end option without having to retain the inventory. Just have an API call to, set up your own store. Allow partners to partner with you. You become the OS. That's always a profitable model.
Yeah.
and allow local bakeries, 1-800 florists, all of these partners to become part of your OS. And now they're guaranteed sales. You take a cut, obviously. They're guaranteed sales because it's going to become the easiest way for you to just send out gifts. That's my take
Yeah.
on the OS.
I would almost, by the way, I love that. I think the partnering strategy, is, great for a couple different reasons. One is you don't have to worry about, this inventory. And I'm sure they do that with a lot of their inventory anyway. Like they don't want to manage all these things. And also too, like trying to, like sell and hawk a bunch of stuff. It feels a little bit like those, gift companies. You basically at the end of the year as a company, you go online and you basically, okay, we're going to send whatever fruit display things to companies and thank them for doing business, or whatever. Like it feels a little like that. So I think being a little bit, but what I think you're referring to a bit is more as like a little more what Amazon did in terms of their model, right? Like we'll just be the distribution house, and we'll leverage other people's brands. But again, back to the tie-in thing, I think the only way this works is they get the holiday movies, Valentine's, whatever it might be. They really get that, and I mean, they really work on tying back to, these are maybe products or things that you've seen in the show or that you want, or it's a feeling you get from it or whatever, right? Like they really need to tie those things better together. And maybe they're doing that because I
Well, I
think that's
think
the only way
it's
they're going to be able to move
starting.
this stuff.
Like they've started trying to develop some of their own stars. They're identifying like Lacey Chabert or
Yeah.
Chabert,
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
she was in Party of Five. Like they're smart, right? Like they take these people who were in these television shows in the 90s, for people who are our age who would buy, the willow wood carving gift type people, right? And I'm not literally, but age group, yes. Um, and they make them the stars of these movies and now shows. And so that's the smart part, is they are
Yeah.
going into series. Really clever. Yeah. Again, you always choose the hard one because it pissed me off because I was like, oh, I have this great idea. And I'm like, Hallmark's already doing a ton of these things. What I think they're like to your point, I think they're like 75% of the way there. I think
Yeah.
they still got that 25% to go.
Exactly.
And as much as Lacey Chabert might be a fantastic choice, they really need to like put some money behind that. And I think, they basically own a town, by the way. You know that, right? Like Hallmark
Oh, I
also
did
has
not know
like
that.
yeah. So they've got, when I looked at their portfolio of businesses, all the things that you mentioned, Crayola, which I'm still kind of like, it feels a bit like apples and oranges. I'm
Yeah.
not really getting the tie in there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
whatever. I'm
But it's
sure
making almost $1 billion worth of revenue. So
yeah, it's making money, so
sure.
who cares? Sure. But they also own like a big real estate portfolio because they basically own like a Hallmark town, and they've got a hotel, and so it's actually quite sizable. Now, I would argue,
That's actually great, by the way. I did
oh
not
yeah,
know that. I should have dug
yeah.
into that. That's fantastic.
So make that like the mecca of Hallmark. You've
Yeah.
already got the town.
Yeah.
Make it like, I don't know. My wife used to love Gilmore Girls, and like there was like there is a fictional town called Stars Hollow, and like people wanted to go there, but it wasn't real. Kind of like Avatar. People wanted to go to Avatar World. You can do that as Hallmark, right? Like you can build the small town, Maple Creek, Vermont.
And we should have done that. You and I done the podcast at the Hallmark and like been in one of those like romantic hotels.
One day, Steve, when this podcast takes off and we have budget,
We're going to Hallmark Village. But I mean, that's like literally that destination thing. I had no idea they did that. But that's actually really an interesting strategy as well. I mean, I cannot see that being profitable, but I mean, they're not Disney and creating the Disney worlds and lands and places like that, but really interesting, like really, really fascinating.
well, I think
But
it's about engagement. It's not
yeah,
necessarily like, let me show you who I think does this beautifully. Bravo. Have you ever heard of
oh, yes,
BravoCon?
yes, yeah, yeah.
So BravoCon in Vegas, my wife really wants to go to this, by the way, and I'm going to go because it just sounds absolutely hilarious. You know what? We'll do a podcast one day. But uh, like they've got these Bravo lebs, right? Bravo celebs. That's a concerning word to pronounce, by the way. I'm not gonna. But anyways, these are the Bravo Labs, and you can see like they're they're getting people engaged with these people. People are really fans. They're also like anti-fans. Some of these people are hated, but people love to hate them, and they bring them out and they get them engaged, and like they build this real community. And I think that's what my argument would be. That's what they need to do. That's what Bravo needs to do. They need to do Hallmark Con in their hometown and have
In their
Lacey
hometown.
Chabert
Yeah, that's
there.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, was it Hallmark, I think? Remember Hallmark, the crazy stories with what was the guy on the cover of all them, Fabian or Fabio or whatever it was,
Yeah.
the big muscle guy with all the hair, and I do not know what that's like, the muscle or the hair. But, like they actually did a lot of that where they would bring people together and have these like massive conventions, and it was just insane. Like back when they were, obviously incredibly hot. But building on your thing around your idea, it was one of the things I did wonder about a little bit, and I couldn't find a ton. But to your point about, yes, Lacey, for example, she's got a fairly large social media presence, is pretty active. She is like probably, if you think Hallmark, or Hallmark Channel or Hallmark, she's in like an enormous amount of them. There is a lot of up and coming celebs, like young people as well, that are starting to do it as well. But I feel like they've missed sort of building a bit more of that creator economy, like really tapping into that, and maybe leveraging the idea of that comfort side of things, like the creator comfort economy, like it, and really trying to bring those together to extend the brand. And so I agree. I wonder if they've may have missed out. I love what you just showed there. I think that's exactly what they're trying to do, is they're trying to make these people into stars. Versus, I think what they're trying to make is the show is the star, not the stars of the stars. But again, I'm not a entertainment media guy, so I don't know. There's some strategy around that, but
Well,
I do wonder what they need
I
to build
think
up.
they've realized. I think that's why they're leaning into like again. I want to keep on saying Lacey Chabert because it just sounds odd, but into her, and I think there was a few other people that they named. Cameron Bure was another one. They are trying to create some celebrities, and I think they are taking a page out of you know Bravo's playbook, hopefully, because people connect with people. They don't just connect with they
Yeah,
connect with characters, like
yeah,
Disney. And so, that's why, personal posts on LinkedIn do better than corporate posts. That's why,
mm,
there's time and time again, people make emotional connections with individuals, not with
agreed,
brand. And
agreed.
so I think it's very smart that they do that. And I think that they need to lean into it. And I think Bravo, as much as Disney has the flywheel, I think Bravo has really nailed that building that fandom. And I think they could do the same thing.
Yeah, agreed. I'm going to throw one other idea, and then I think we should probably bring it home with maybe kind of our final thoughts on things. But I actually got thinking about, what if they started to look at opening up more of a B2B type channel? So a little bit building on your operating system. I know you mentioned that to me the other day when we were chatting, and kind of riffing on that a little bit. But what if they went and they actually did like a Hallmark for work? So one of the most, a little bit of some of the other work I do in the advisory side of things, I've been working with a couple of different companies on, HR tech, which is not the most sexy, but it's a huge growing category. You and I both know, running organizations, how difficult it is to keep the culture, keep people engaged, retention, all these things, particularly like really good people, right? And it's really, really hard, and it's been incredibly difficult, particularly since the pandemic. So I wonder if they could tie in and be almost like an engine for, or powered by Hallmark for, like kind of like what a Bonusly does,
Right.
or Achievers, or some of these things. I know the last organization, the company that we sold to, Sego, they use something called Bonusly. And I was like, when we first started using it, I was like, nobody's going to. It was used a ton with great success. So I wonder if there's a way that they could actually open up, like, it's a massive market. Like, I think it's about $16 billion right now, just specifically that market. And there's some estimates to get up to about 65 billion by 2030. So it's a growing category and a growing market. So I don't know. Anyway, that was kind of one of my ideas, was like maybe get into the B2B market a little bit.
That's a great idea. Actually, Steve, quick anecdote on that. So Dig uses Bonusly as well. And one of the ways that you could redeem Bonusly was to have lunch with me. And nobody ever chose lunch with me.
Ian, I would have chose to have lunch with you. How's that? There
So
you go.
solitary tear. Nobody ever chose
Smallest
lunch with
violin in
Ian.
the world is
Yeah.
playing right now.
But I think that's a
Listen,
great idea. I think it's a fantastic
you
idea.
wear that you wear that outfit, the shirt, the scarf, and particularly the
Yeah.
mustache. I'm telling you, anybody that hasn't watched this on YouTube, you gotta see this episode on YouTube. At least just see the clip with Ian. He's got the mustache back on again. Anyway, yeah, I feel for you. We never did the like lunch with the CEO thing or whatever, but that's cute. But
Yep.
okay, Ian, let's bring it
This
home.
is supposed to be rugged woodsman. I think I look more like Mario. But yeah, I agree with
That
you.
would make me Luigi. That would make me Luigi. Which, by the way, probably kind of fits, actually, the more I think of it, if you kind of look at the two of us. All right, why don't we bring it home with some closing remarks, or maybe I know you had a number of really great ideas as well. So I don't know if you want to pitch one of your other ideas or bring it home and close it. And then I've got kind of one final thought as well, but why don't you go first?
All right, excellent. I mean, I think they're on the road to success, or they've already achieved a lot of that success. But to your point, I think they're probably about 75% of the way there. They're doing all the right things, but I think they need to sort of tweak it a little bit. The OS that they built is fantastic, but I think they need to open it up to partners. They need to partner, go with even Tiffany's. Like, if they become the OS that owns the occasion, people will be lining up to sell through their site, and they should be doing flowers. They should be doing large gift baskets, obviously chocolates. They do already have some chocolates, and higher end gifts. And I think they could take their average check up significantly, even if it's only 10% of their portfolio in terms of membership. It could be a massive portion of profitability. So I think they've got a big opportunity there. I think on the media side, they've done some really smart things. I love the fact that they've partnered with Netflix. I think this foray into series and reality TV, brilliant. Exactly what they should be doing. I think they need to sort of fine tune that and really look at what Bravo has done in terms of how has Bravo created these raving fandoms for these reality stars. And I think once they get that piece, then they're not just selling precious moments. They're selling precious moments, Lacey Chabert picking the apple off the tree or whatever. You know what I mean? And then the margin's that much higher, like with Disney, right? If it's this character that people love, they're going to pay more for it, and it's going to be more margin in their pocket. And I think that's the play for them. And then finally, I think they're missing the boat personally. I think this one's contrarian, and you and I may not actually agree on this one, but I think they're missing the boat on their AI approach. Here's an idea for you. Take what did I call it? Maple Creek, Vermont.
Yeah.
Put your husband as Steve the Woodsman in Maple Creek, Vermont, and create a movie and give him a movie, and you add your personal touch to it. I'm going to share my screen one more time because this is unbelievable what I found the other day. Maybe you've heard
I
of this
hope
one.
I hope you're not going to show me in the woods as Steve the Woodsman
No,
in
Kling
Maple,
AI. Have you
Vermont.
seen this? Unbelievable what
Oh,
you
yes,
can
I have
do
seen it. Yeah.
now. Individuals can create movies that look like they've come out of Hollywood. Imagine if you were doing this with recognizable personalities that you know and love from Hallmark films, and putting your loved ones in them and creating personalized movies. That's the next step beyond just e-cards, in my opinion. And I think they have all the ingredients to do it, and they just got to stop this preservationist innovation. I don't buy it.
Yeah. By the way, I love all that. I will push back a little bit on, and for a guy that's very pro AI and advocating for it, I think they've got something on the human side of things that they don't want to lose. So I think they have to just They need to leverage it. They absolutely, particularly if they're going to scale their movie and entertainment business, like it is a formulaic business. So your point, they could leverage AI to scale that in even a bigger way. The personalization piece, I agree with all that. I think the piece that I'm just a little bit concerned about is that they have captured this human element of it. And really to me, like when I think of Hallmark, I think of it as one company. I don't agree with this identity crisis thing. I think they really should just lean into their Hallmark. And Hallmark powers human connection. And I think in 2026, there needs to be a lot of human connection. I think we're losing that in a lot of ways. And I think the fact that they've gone kind of counterculture to that, I think is a strength for them as well. So I think they need to really lean into that more and more and more. The other thing too, as well, which I feel like they haven't quite figured out how to nail this, is that if you think about it, for the better part of a century, Hallmark has been at some of the most important moments in our lives, whether those be your birthdays or a passing of a loved one, or maybe it's, your wedding or whatever it might be. Hallmark's been at these moments in part of this. And I feel like they haven't touched that emotional part of it. They keep talking about it, but I don't think they've quite tapped into it. The operating system piece of it, I think that might be a way that they could actually do that, where they're intersecting in this part of your entire life and making it very personalized. But I think Hallmark has to just lean into the fact that it powers human connection and just be that organization. So listen, Ian, I think we are at time, but I think it was a great subject.
Yeah, it's a fun one. I love I learned a lot about Hallmark. I didn't know they own Crayola. I didn't know about all these fantastic things that they're doing. Really smart company. I hope they see it all the way through. And I'm excited for the next one, which is also one of your choices, which is pants that I should never wear.
Just
Anyway,
leave it there. Leave
that's
it
the
there.
hint. Pants that I have never bought and will never wear. That's what
I
they're famous
actually
for.
think
Yeah.
we need to get more people watching the video. We need to buy you a pair of pants, and you need to show up at the. 'Cause I think we're gonna try to do the
Yeah.
next one live. I thought maybe in person.
That's too sensationalist, Steve. I want to stick highbrow. I don't want to just descend into my raw animal magnetism. Come on. You're the cheesecake here. Come on. You're the one wearing the pants. All right.
Ian, my friend, always a pleasure. I thought that was a fun one. Looking forward to the next one.